I don't think we could do the live stream without my buddy Brad Brownell. He has been outstanding in supporting us every year of this event, and this is year 5. Brad, can you believe it? We're still in the driveway, man.
Well, I can believe it, and you're still making over 90%, I bet. So those are two things that happen every year, and obviously I'm happy to be a part of it. We always talk about the Clemson Life program up here in Tiger Town, which is great. And your son Frankie, who still is around, and I see him working in different jobs all around the community. So he and I still connect a little bit. It's good to see him, and obviously appreciate all that you do with Special Olympics.
Well, thank you. You know, when I say, Frankie, did you see Coach Brownell? And he'll say, Brownell. He just calls you Brownell. That's what he calls you. He's got a nickname for everyone. But, you know, we do always talk about the Clemson Life program because we see the Clemson community through a different lens, right? I mean, there are fans, there are students, there are university employees, and then there's the Clemson Life program that really has galvanized the community in ways I never thought. And the community has galvanized the Clemson Life program in ways I never thought either. When you have managers that work with your program and you see the Clemson Life students around, you see Frankie working now as a graduate, it's really, it's got to warm your heart, and it's got to have an effect on your players. You know, what kind of effect do you think it has on your players, Brad?
Well, they're just so positive. I mean, they bring so much positive joy to every day that it reminds all of us, not just players, but coaches. You turn around the corner and you see one of those guys at practice, and they're so happy and excited. And, you know, when they're home for Christmas break and they come back to school and they've been away for a couple of weeks and they just can't, I mean, they just want to run up and give you a hug because they're so excited to be back at school and in practice that, you know, it warms your heart, but it also reminds you of all that we have to be thankful for. And, you know, we've obviously done things like all the teams now, I know football and basketball, one of the first to start doing the Clemson Life clinics. And those are great events and time that we get to spend with multiple kids on campus, 20, 25 of them. And obviously it's grown where every team is doing that now. And you just, we talk about family at Clemson, and Clemson Life is a big part of the Clemson family. So it's just a lot of fun and very rewarding.
I know Frankie enjoys basketball. That's his favorite sport. So, their intramural team is still alive and kicking. They got a Special Olympic team and they love to play. But I was a little disappointed in you, Brad, because you're trying to teach them how to play some defense. No. We don't talk about defense around here.
He is very offensive minded. He's much like his mother. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. My man likes to shoot, and we learn that quickly in our clinics, right? So the defensive station is very short in the Clemson Life Clinic. The shooting station is I think there's multiple shooting stations. So Frankie's right on top of that. Well,
not to dismiss your incredible defensive genius, because I always admire what you do, and you always provide a blueprint for me, because when I study your teams and the way you play opponents, it helps me figure out a couple of options that maybe might work in certain situations, because I know you spend so much time on it, and I know your staff is outstanding. Let's talk offense though, because Joe Girard and PJ Hall, that's going to be a hell of a two-man game on the middle of the floor, or when you go one side, whatever you decide to do. I mean, how exciting is that?
Yeah, it really is. I'm super excited about next year. Really proud of our guys in 14 ACC wins this year and finishing third in the league and hoping to build on that. Certainly starts in the middle with PJ, who's just had a terrific career thus far and really was playing outstanding basketball at the end of last season. And then it kind of goes to our backcourt, Joe Girard, who you mentioned, but also Chase Hunter. Two guys that I think can provide as good a backcourt as maybe anybody in the league. Older guys that are both proven scorers, distributors. They're both just kind of the old school guard. Maybe neither one a traditional point guard, maybe even not a traditional two guard, but they're both guards. They can both handle it. They can both pass it, make decisions. And I think playing off of each other and allowing each other different times to run the point or playoff screens is going to be really good, whether it's pick and roll or whether it's low cuts along the baseline. I just think those two guys are going to be really good together and should be a lot of fun to watch.
I know Little John will be fired up because that is a lot of offense. And I know you see the game somewhat through a balance of both defense and offensive lens. You have to. But the interesting thing to me is, and I don't want to make this, a tough question for you, but you really kind of got screwed last year in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, you finished third in the ACC, and I don't get why people on the national level have, kind of dismissed the ACC a little bit, just because some of the traditional names in the league haven't been at the top doesn't mean that there's not quality basketball. How do we change that perspective so that a team that finishes third in the ACC and gets 14 conference wins makes the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, it's a little problematic to me that I understand we're trying to do the full body of work. That's kind of one of the phrases, and we last 10 games we go away from those kinds of things. And then they even talk about non-conference strength of schedule, but some of those metrics we've gotten a little too metric driven, I think. Obviously, teams in leagues that aren't as strong they may play a stronger non-conference schedule. Some of the bigger leagues may not play quite as strong a non-conference schedule. And then sometimes when you schedule the games, you think teams are going to be stronger in your non-conference. They end up not being as strong. And so now you're penalized for things of that nature, which makes it challenging. And it's a hard deal. Like, I get it. Picking 68 teams is really challenging. But yeah, I certainly thought our team was deserving, and we had great record in quad 1 and 2 games. In some years I feel like it changes. It's the metrics, what's important moves. The one year when we were 35 in the net and didn't get in, we didn't have enough quad 1 wins. This year we had a winning record in quad 1 and 2, and we were 500 in quad 1s, and it's not enough. So I just feel like it's a challenging situation. At the end of the day, we got to win one more game probably, so we better control that. But no question, it's frustrating, and what it is it's heartbreaking for your older players who that was kind of their senior year, the Hunter Tysons and Brevin Galloways of the world who've done so much. They wanted back in that tournament, and to fall a game short hurts.
I mean, two great guys, two great representatives of your program, especially Hunter with 5 years and what he was able to do and accomplish, how much he got better under your system. I mean, your player development stuff, he was definitely one of the top players in the ACC all season. So the portal and scheduling, because it's not a perfect science, and it's challenging when you try to put your schedule together in advance thinking that you might have this roster or play against a particular roster, and then things change so quickly. So without it being a perfect science, that makes it really challenging when you start looking at those metrics, especially when we don't always know what's in the efficiency components, from an offensive and defensive standpoint. So you just got to worry about what you do and just try to keep getting better, I guess, right?
Yeah. And obviously I think teams change, right? And so Florida State was an example of a team that really struggled early, got better. I mean, they didn't have a typical Florida State year, but they had some injuries early, got a couple guys back, had a guy who became eligible in January. So by conference play, they were better than they were in November and December. And I think those are things that maybe aren't taken into account, and your league is penalized by your non-conference stuff. It's just a hard deal. That's why you can't control it. You can't worry about it. At the end of the day, I told our guys, hey, we did have chances, and we lost a couple games we didn't need to lose, and that ultimately got us. And so we got to learn and grow from that. And hopefully we'll have a little chip on our shoulder this year and be highly motivated and very successful.
Well, I know you're a big golfer, and I know you love to play.
Yeah, but I haven't been able to get out. Too much work in the portal and scheduling and everything.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. I mean, like, how much has this change in the landscape affected your golf game? Because we got to play once. I'm ready to come up there and play again.
That's right. No, it has a lot. To be honest with you, I've been out twice, and once was a fundraising event. So I've only been out once on my own. Here we are, middle of May, late May, and we're not getting out like we need to, because it's going to be June recruiting, July recruiting. All of a sudden you didn't get to play that much. So trying to figure that out, but hopefully that's coming here in the next week or two.
Well, I'm so grateful for your time. I appreciate so much you being involved with us on 24 Hours Nothing But Net. And I'm just chipping away 5 years in, just, trying to maintain a good platform so we can continue to raise a lot of money for Special Olympics. And I couldn't do it without you, Brad. Thank you.
Well, happy to be on, that, and very grateful for all that you do, and not just in Special Olympics, but for basketball. You're a tremendous ambassador, a Hall of Famer, which I know you don't want me to say, but it's great to be associated with anything that you do.
Well, I feel the same way, mutual appreciation. Thank you. And
You're very
I
welcome.
will tell you this, that when you played NC State the first time in December, I had Frankie with me. And Kevin Keats was pretty upset that Frankie was not going to be an NC State fan in that game, even though he thought blood was thicker than graduate degree.
Yeah.
It didn't work. He's all in on the Tigers.
That's good to hear. Well, he's living here in Tiger Town, so he better treat us right.
Well, I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.